Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to our fourth Alien Worlds consensus meetup. I'll kind of start by just going over the agenda. Most of you have gone through the process, but I'll just quickly go through the process here. Just give me one quick second. I'll just share my screen here. All right, so spend the next 5-10 minutes. I'll go over the agenda and just take any general questions. And here, how do you let people in and share your screen? You know what? Let me just close this for a sec. All right, there we go.
Also, you can uncheck enable waiting room if you want people to automatically be able to be admitted.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. That'll help a lot. Yeah, so for the first bit, let's go over the agenda and then take some questions. The meat and potatoes of the meeting is we're going to break out into random breakout rooms. Depending on the people, the rooms are 5 or 6 people. And the mission, if you're willing to take it, is every person in your room just give an introduction. It's really valuable for networking to kind of hear, what are you passionate about? You know, why are you here? What are you passionate about? Alien worlds, and what are you passionate about in governance? And if you could select maybe someone to moderate the meeting, that would be great. And then maybe just to keep on track, we try and keep this to about 25 minutes for the intro. So if someone can just give a kind nudge to people if they're kind of hitting that 4-minute mark. The next part then is to come to consensus, and the whole experiment here is to practice this consensus process. And what we're coming to consensus on is what the group feels the participants in the room contributed. And we kind of have two things that we're looking at. One is, what have you contributed to Alien Worlds? So, have you built anything? Are you just showing up and playing? So whatever your contributions been for Alien Worlds. And then, since this is focused on governance and we have a lot of people coming from ƒractal and EDA and governance, what have you contributed in as far as governance? So kind of 2 metrics. We are slowly bringing more and more people in from Alien Worlds, but if I look at the group today, most of us have come in from more of the governance side. So just following the theme of last week, it would be, what are you passionate about governance? What have you contributed? And then we go through the process of listening to people. We've done a countdown in the last few weeks, at least in my breakout room, so that there's not a leader kind of taking charge and everyone just follows his suggestions, where we've done a countdown of 3, 2, 1, and everyone posts in the chat who they think contributed the most last week. There's a 2/3 consensus, so it'd be 3 out of 5. No, yeah, 4 out of 5, 4 out of 6.
3 out of 5.
Yeah, exactly. And then after, we'll come back to the main room. Like I said, for today's meeting, we'll keep it simple. Before, we've had to put everyone's name and wax address, but I do have everyone's wax address, so you can just list the names. And then we'll do a kind of debrief. Obviously, after the meeting, it's a little bit more informal, and can discuss any discussions and kind of get the next part going with the KROWN meeting. Yeah. So any questions, suggestions? I will make sure everyone does have recording features. So any breakout room that I'm not in, maybe please just start by, someone recording the breakout room. Everyone's so quiet today. All right, I think everyone has recording enabled. Any last thoughts? Are you guys ready just to hop into the in the breakout rooms?
And how long do you want to be in the breakout rooms?
It seems like we all, from the past meetings needed a little bit more time to come to consensus. So what do you guys think? Maybe 20 minutes for intro and 25 minutes for consensus. So we can get back here within maybe 45 minutes. So at the top of the hour.
Okay.
And I'll send out a notification, kind of like a 1 minute notification, or even 2 minutes here, just to let you know when we're coming back to the main room.
Okay.
All right, guys. Have fun. I'll see you in the breakout rooms here. And what do we have? We have 4, 8, 12. Well, look at that. Perfect 2 rooms. All right, guys. See you in a bit.
See you. Thanks, Ryan. Dwayne, one thing that I was just wondering is, I mean, technically, I think we have 7 people in this room, but because Johanna and Tristan, sorry, I'm mispronouncing your names, are both in one camera, so there's 7.
Gotcha. Good call.
So I don't know if we should go back and do 3 rooms of 4 and 5, or if we should do this and do 7. I just don't know how it would work, or how it's best to do it.
Yeah. Or do you guys want to combine your contributions? Like one of you is going to get recognition, the other's not.
Okay, we can be 1 or 2. What would you prefer?
It's mostly up to you guys. We can, I think maybe because we started and I missed that part, maybe for this exercise, are you fine with just doing 1?
Yeah, would be fine.
Is everybody else fine with that?
That's fine with me. If it's fine with Johanna and Tristan. There also is the option, I guess, since we just joined, you could restart it and do 4, but it might just be simplest and best just do it that way. And I suppose that Johanna and Tristan might have an added benefit of having 2 brains and double the manpower and so forth. So I don't know. It's fine by me either way.
I like it that you're giving us new parameters to think about. You're gonna we'll have to now come to consensus in another meeting of how to deal with 2 people on one video.
That's what I was going to say. If we include them, make this a 7, and then present that to the ƒractal team, it might get us noticed.
Maximum respect, 7 people.
It's never been done before. Let's do it.
It's true. All the numbering and all the stuff, you're going to rewrite the whole algorithm. It's all based on 6. For this one, if you guys are okay with keeping it to 6, but I'll listen to the group. It's all about consensus. So what do you guys think? Well, I'll go with your first offer of taking me up on the offer of going with 6 and keeping it in line. And then, maybe in our after session, when we get off this, let's discuss it more and see what we do in that case. How does that sound?
Yep, that's good with me.
That's fine with me.
Sounds great. And then for the intros and everything, no problem being off camera, but when we're doing a consensus, the whole purpose for us to see each other. So I want to see your beautiful face there, Jeff. So, but who wants to kick it off?
I'll go first.
Perfect. Thanks, Evan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Evan. Dwayne actually invited me to this meeting, which is really nice of him. This is my first time here. So I actually work for DeCoco. I work for the Galactic Hubs Innovation Fund, the community fund that we just launched in May. And actually, Dwayne was one of our first applicants for the grants program that we launched. So yeah, so in light of his application, I thought it'd be, well, he thought it'd be nice if I joined this call and learned a little bit more about how this works and possibly in the future, maybe help in growing this, you know, this governance system and helping you guys, you know, support that initiative. So thanks for having me.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit why you're passionate about alien worlds and governance?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been around in the blockchain industry since 2017. I was sort of really fascinated by the possibility of not just the gaming side of governance and using tokens as a way to advance, you know, what we have in the 81s ecosystem, but going much further than that. And what we're looking at DAOs for, you know, more mainstream applications. But I think having what you guys have here, trying to figure out the technicalities of how we come to simple agreements on how to come to consensus, I think is, you know, the first part of that. And yeah, I find this fascinating to see how this can evolve into something that everybody around the world could eventually, you know, use as sort of a system to do a lot of different things. So
Excellent, thanks. And we usually get the person that's talking just to pass off the talking stick to the next person. So you can suggest.
Okay, I'll pass it off to Johanna.
Yeah, okay, so it's me. I'm Joanna in Austria. I have worked for Alien Worlds for a while, and then I found out that it would be really cool if they have more tools for governance and more tools for inviting people and stuff like that. So I also yeah, put some ideas towards to the Galactic Hub, and we will see how that goes. But I am really interested also in governance in that way that in KROWN I like to capture this culture that is I think basis that is really core of this all. Sorry, I'm a bit in my head it's a bit blah 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 today. I'm trying to find words for what I'm gonna do with this. I want to write a co-written book with all the people that want to share and contribute from the KROWN community to this co-creative book that is about the culture that is behind governance and behind that DAO idea and behind KROWN, because KROWN is one of the first, I think, DAOs or DACs that was created. And I think when we share this culture, we can share that the thing that is needed for the DAOs to evolve and to grow and stuff like that. So I think that is really important. Last week I was on a camp for women and yoga women, and I was doing a little bit of off-road government there, but not much about Alien Worlds. So yeah, that's my saying hello. And Tristan, I pass it on to you. Do you want to say anything? We are one team.
Yes. Yeah, we one team, yes. For me, I'm Tristan. My, how you call it, my nickname or my alias is Siggy's Farm. I'm working on a project forming the crypto world and the real world together in a way that maybe the people would buy a NFT, a crypto NFT, and get something real in exchange. And that's the goal. And for me, I'm doing two things mostly days. The first half the day I'm working on the farm, and the second day I'm playing games and streaming it and finding people that liking my idea and forming a community. Well, that's my thing now.
Okay. Wer soll weiter?
I'm giving next to Mr. Munchbird Sparrow.
It's Mockingbird Sparrow. It's been around since before blockchain, yes, before Bitcoin. Two birds. One is probably got a jet on it because it's spelled as Mach, the speed of sound. Anyway, there's a story and comic in there. Then to be my gaming avatar, and I strongly believe that the first front lines of crypto are gamers. Because they're not just gamers, they're MMOs. MMOs came in because of the boredom online. Games started to go into chats and stuff like that. So online gaming is a big deal. And the avatar, I believe, is our, everyone's an artist, your creative expression, how you present yourself and all that, your suit or whatever. So anyway, I've been in ƒractal since the beginning. If you look back there, you see briefings. It was EOS Weekly, and EOS Weekly isn't just about EOS, it primarily is, but it covers the EOSI ecosystem that connects with the mainnet. Wax is probably where I spend most of my time because it's functional. Now, I went into a bit what Evan had been talking about, some of the mainstream stuff, and that's what really interested me. What were the core adopters? I tried to bring in blockchain for aviation, for airline miles into my thesis back in the day. I couldn't justify it. I found the first industry to bring it on, bring in blockchain was medical research. So I investigated hard as to what traditional companies were looking into. I'm here in EOS and EOS help is I believe blockchain needs to be functional. Whatever happens, it needs to be functional. And Wax is a perfect use case for that, even though its functionality is a little bit narrower than EOS and being an NFT thing, a gaming thing. And of all the projects on Wax, Alien Worlds, its bridges is nice. I saw the game when it first came out. It's a little bit unreachable for average players yet, but I can see the use case. Most of crypto is, I see Alien Worlds try to make a real game out of it rather than a pseudo gambling sort of thing. And recently I talked about the GameFi that's been promoted by the lead developer of EOS, talking about how most game theory is really adopted addiction theory from the gambling, from the gambling industry. I believe that's wrong. I believe it's fundamentally flawed at its core, and I believe it needs blockchain and NFTs because if you're owning the assets, if you have representation, as you said, you can as Johanna said, you can trade an NFT for something real. If you can demonstrate ownership of your time online, of your contributions, that is transferable. However, if there's a centralized entity in gambling giving you points that really you don't have any ownership or control over, the whole thing goes out the window. So that's where I am. From the beginning, I saw Ƒractal start with Clarion, from the Clarion team. I try to bridge, try to connect, join each Ƒractal, bridge them and the tech and stuff that's going on, see how things are developing uniquely. We currently have 3. I believe I'm taking up too much of the time, and I see Dan there. Save the best for last with Dwayne, and I can't see Trekker yet, so I pass it off to Dan.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. Thank you very much, Marco. Much appreciated, and also great to hear from you, Evan and Johanna and Tristan. And thank you so much, Dwayne, of course, for setting this up, and Trekker, looking forward to hear from you. So I'm Dan Singjoy, and I am also very much into fractal governance and fractal cooperation. And I am I have a bit of presentation that I'll share, just briefly showing what I've been doing to help with fractal governance and so forth. And also, I'm super excited about Alien Worlds too. I'm not super familiar with Alien Worlds. I've been loosely following it for the past couple of years, and I'm excited about it. And then I was thrilled when Dwayne started this, and I've been learning about Alien Worlds quite a bit over the past few weeks now. So I'm looking forward to working more with Alien Worlds. It looks like this is a little bit, whoops, I moved myself, sorry about that. It's just a little bit cut off, I'll fix it. Okay, cool. That's better. Okay, sorry for a bit of a lack of preparation. It's been a very busy week. But anyway, yeah, so I participated this week in the Alien Worlds, into the Alien Worlds, the third week that we did, that Dwayne hosted, and then I made a pretty cool thumbnail that I was kind of proud of it and I liked. So there's that. It was mostly just Patrick and Dwayne and I talked about Alien Worlds and fractal governance for a little while. And then Dwayne's also been teaching us to use some of these Alien Worlds tools, which is cool. I mined some Trillium, and I've also just been curating a playlist here with the Alien Worlds introduction videos that I participated in so far with Dwayne, and I think Marco might have been at one of them as well recently. And then also I've been working with Eden Fractal. So I started the Eden Fractal and wrote a proposal, and then I've been starting with many Eden members over the past 6 weeks or so. This has been like the second fractal basically that started up a couple weeks before this Alien Worlds fractal. And so there's a video here of the one from last week. And then from this week, we had the most members actually that we've ever had. We had like 23 members or so doing this Eden fractal process. So that was super cool. The video's not up for that one yet. And then, yeah, for last week, we've been giving out 100 years per week that I've been sponsoring. And now Patrick from Nova Crypto will sponsor the next. And then also I became chief delegate, so I have more funding to do it. So we give out EOS and we give out the Eden Respect, pretty similar to how Dwayne is doing it here, but with EOS. And also we have an amazing NFT artist who's giving out NFTs too. So we have that, and I've been kind of managing the account and just posting tweets about it to help promote it. And EOS is of course very closely related to Wax, and I'm very excited about how these governance process can empower communities. And I also like making some art as well, so I shared that. And then if anybody's interested in attending, and bless you, Johanna, if anybody's interested in attending these events, everybody's welcome. We have them every Wednesday at 13 UTC, and it'd be great to see you there. Yeah, so, and I've also been participating in Eden on EOS. So Eden Fractal kind of grew out of Eden on EOS, but Eden on EOS has been operating on EOS for the past 1.5 years or so as a governance layer on EOS. And so I participated in the election this week, and there's some really cool art from Helios, which is in the EOS space. And I was honored to be elected as a chief delegate. There are 18 delegates elected total, and you can see some of the names and pictures here in this Bywire tweet. And then Eva Rose, who's CEO of the ENF, which is kind of like the main leading organization of EOS. He shared a tweet congratulating the four chief delegates, including myself, and we met with Eve on the first contact on a live stream hosted by Helios, which was really cool. So Eve shared a tweet here that was really neat to see. And so I've just been doing as much as I can to help support this fractal governance process in both Wax and Alien Worlds and also Eden. And so there's a video that I did with Eve and the 4 chief delegates here, and I've just been retweeting and helping to grow it as much as possible, and speaking on a bunch of meetings to advocate for this fractal governance process. Matthias, the developer of Zeos, which is a great app, who's been helping a lot as well. He shared a cool tweet. And then I also did the first chief delegate meeting where we just spoke about what we're going to do with Eden meetings, which you can watch here if you're interested in checking it out. And then also I host a Eden town hall with another creator called Felix, or named Felix Reese. He does awesome work. And so we've been hosting town halls about Eden every Sunday at 16 UTC. So we talked for like 2 hours about Eden and fractal governance and so forth. And then I've also just been working to also grow the process. I'm working with Jesse from the Bees to help grow Eden on EOS and help attract more people with networking events and so forth. And then I also advocated for fractal governance and Eden and so forth on the EOS Fireside Chat. We did a segment about Eden election. And then also I followed Dan Larimer quite a bit because he invented a lot of this fractal governance stuff. So I retweeted some of his tweets here and I've been reading. And yeah, if anybody hasn't checked out fractally.com, then I'd highly recommend you do so, where you can learn a lot more about this process. And especially for the Alien Worlds community, I think that like the Alien Worlds community likes governance a lot. I know some of the founders were in EO Stack, and governance is very much in the culture. So I think that Fractally and Fractal governance and what Dwayne is doing here with this Fractal for Alien Worlds is super, super helpful and super aligned with Alien Worlds. So that's that. And here's my alien UFO thumbnail again. Once again, thanks everybody for listening. And I hope I didn't go too long. I didn't have my timer on, but thanks for listening and hope it was fun and enjoyable. And I suppose I'll nominate either Checker or Dwayne to go next. Does anybody have any preference?
I could go next.
Okay.
Boy, that's a tough act to follow. I wasn't totally prepared to be here today, but I did participate in the original, the first Eden Mono EOS election, and I've been around in the KROWN space here for a while, and involved with EOS.io since 2018. Yeah, the only initiative I've thought of, or one of the main ones that kind of persists, that Lisa Chandler had actually kind of sort of recommended that I would go forward with, is I have a background in conservation, and I have some theories of how it can relate to blockchain, sustainable development of blockchain ecosystems as well, based on what I was working on and who I was working with. And so I thought about doing a phygital NFT project, bridging conservation with the physical world, with like conservation offsets through a phygital NFT that we based on a series of nature soundscapes that I would make that to appeal to fans and the community and Alien Worlds. And the contributions for, like, I'm thinking like 51% of it at least would go back directly towards the conservation area I worked with. They have a digital asset trust essentially set up, and their main trust fund is set up in an endowment, and the interest from it gets used to manage their projects perpetually. So they have a model of trust. It's that the main fund treasury stays there for perpetuity, and then any contributions they get will go towards supplies and things that they actually need to carry out their research and continue their conservation efforts, as the model for the whole Costa Rican national system and a lot of the things we do in conservation, sustainable development related to ecosystem services and community asset trust. So I have been starting to put together some of my nature sounds, and yeah, looking forward to develop a proposal to do this digital NFT release.
That's awesome.
And I'll pass it on to Dwayne.
Thanks. It's been an exciting week in governance in the larger communities of EOS. And just like to congratulate Dan. Congratulations on getting to that chief delegate level on Eden. One of Dan's proposals was to bridge the funding over to the Fractally process. So I think that's really going to help introduce a lot more people to this process. I just did one post. We were able to, with the help of Eric, do a live podcast about the metaverse and governance. And I think we're going to continue that series. Oh, that's, how do you, okay, 1 second. We have someone entering late. Oh, well, they didn't make it. I guess that's my other main contributions this week, specifically to Alien Worlds and governance, has just been reaching out and trying to get more of the Alien Worlds community over. So just static invites has brought about 12 people to the group. I just saw 2 people that wanted to join that were active this morning asking, but maybe the time got mixed up. But we spoke last week. It's really not what I've done this past week, but just talking about planning forward, is Dan's offered to help me out co-host a series where we start reaching out to more of the leaders, and where we're going to get the leaders that we feel are leaders in Alien Worlds, specifically to governance, are people that have signed up to be a council member, and asking them for an interview and just letting them talk to their audience of why they want to be, a council member on Alien Worlds. And then it could slowly introduce them to this process. And we think there's some value to those council members maybe of using this process. Maybe it's once they've been elected through the governance system that Alien Worlds has, that they use this as a platform to be transparent to their voters. Maybe it's that council, that have a group of leaders that are in charge of a planet. Maybe it's just them using this process to show their voters how they're coming to consensus. But either way, we thought, doing just static links is bringing in some people, but how do we get more traction? And I think it's by having the leaders of these other communities come in and understand it, so they can maybe rally their communities around this. There's the option to have groups and kind of subgroups within a Fractal group that earn points. So if we see success, we would see some of these independent groups. I know we had David Harris with the Alien Army. If they could, bring their group and they can kind of be a force and tell us what they're doing every week, that would be kind of one of my objectives. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think one of the differences we see with this Fractal process that we're trying to follow, based off of the Dan Larimer's book, More Equal Animals and the Fractal process, is that a lot of funding mechanisms, the one that, the galactic hubs that I applied for, is we put in a grant and it's up to our reputation to then, take the money and actually follow through and do what we said we're going to do in the grant. And this format's a little bit different, where we're rewarding people for their past achievements. So we've kept it kind of loose, because the biggest value up to now has been this networking of what you're passionate about, what you've done in this entire space. But just to stay true to our core mission of rewarding people what you've done in the last week or up to now, maybe if we could just do a quick round in like a sentence or two of, what have you done for Alien Worlds or governance in this last week? And I know some of you spoke to it, but I think it'll just make it easier for us to come to a consensus in the next round if we hear just some of your contributions. And that can mean your projects as well, like if it fits into why you're here, but just kind of what you've worked on in the last little bit. And let's try and keep it short, because we're at about 20 minutes. So maybe just a couple of little introductions, and maybe we'll just do the same round. So maybe we can start off with Evan.
Thanks for that, Dwayne. That really sheds a lot of light into your application, and obviously why we're all here today, which is actually really exciting. And I think, just to your point, if I may, I think it's really interesting that you're coming in through from obviously you're an established member of the community, but you're really looking for the to give a voice to these council members and hopefully more transparency, like you said, to the election cycle and to the activities that they're doing every week. And that, as you know, is with Alien Worlds, with how many members we have, as stakeholders in these communities, I think that's going to bring a lot more camaraderie. Hopefully, I think as an immediate sort of result from doing these types of things. But I think over time, it will force council members to sort of up their game, right? And that's probably what we want to see as a game, as a community. But I think this platform could do a really good job at doing that. So to your last point, which was sharing what we've done in terms of governance. So my job at Galactic Hubs is exactly that. It's governance. It's all about governance. It's about trying to find a way for this season 1, this grant program to go as smoothly as possible, because as you may know, there's a lot of things that we have to think about just as a company, because there are guidelines, there are anti-money, AML, anti-money laundering things that we have to so just laws, just general laws that we have to apply, make sure we're compliant to in our jurisdictions. So, you know, in one end, we would love to see this whole Galactic Hubs become a DAO, right? And totally decentralized. But on the other end, you know, there's all of these other things that in the real world that just don't allow that to happen overnight when we're distributing TLM to proposals or making decisions as a community. So, you know, my job is right now is finding the best path to decentralization. Our team is always thinking about, you know, what processes we can do to you know, get the responsibility away from us and more to the community, because eventually we want the Galactic Hubs to be completely community driven. So that it's the community choosing, you know, what types of applications they're interested, what proposals they want to go forward with. So these are all questions we're constantly asking ourselves as a team, as a company, and yeah, and that's what we strive to do every day. I can't give you specifics, but I can just tell you that that's sort of what we're working on.
Yeah, thank you. Joanna?
So are we talking about what we did, or are we nominating already?
I just wanted to get a little bit more information, because we kind of gave what we want to do, but just to make it easier for consensus, what have you guys done in the last week or up to this point? And just a couple sentences. Yeah.
Yeah, did some off-road governance and didn't do much else because I didn't have my computer with me. And so, yeah, probably last week was more a very human, direct way of being in a group and getting along with many people and trying to hold it all together and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yes, and
that's all.
For me, last week's I did more on the farm than on the online world. So, and that wasn't much. Can't say my English is too not good enough. So that's for me. I didn't do really much.
Okay, so we're basically more in the real world.
Was just a funny question, but was Ziggy, was consensus easier on the farm last week or harder?
Harder. Hard.
Weil ich nicht da war.
Oh, no comment.
That's the right answer. Marco.
Every week there's a ƒractal section in the newsletter, was US Weekly. So it saw the whole thing grow. If you look back, you get an idea for it. So think information systems for governance. I'm also part of already ƒractal, part of the team, same team that Dwayne is for the Genesis ƒractal. So I do bring the differences over in conversation and any initiatives as far as that. So that's what contributions. Yeah.
Perfect. So there might be some people, Marco, that don't know your newsletter. So if you have a chance, please post it in the chat for us too. Dan.
Yeah, sure.
I think you gave a concise. I think you did the most concise of what you've done in the last week.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Well, thank you, and then thank you for the kind words before as well too. So yeah, also one thing
I do have a question. Sorry to interrupt you. How do you find the time?
Okay.
Yeah, you're contributing so much. It's appreciated.
Well, no, thank you. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just like constantly working, and I'm trying to get enough sleep, and I was trying to get outside every once in a while and stuff like that. So it's difficult. It's been super busy lately. Another thing I forgot to mention too was the thing that Dwayne mentioned, which Patrick and Dwayne and I and I think somebody else, Eric, we participated in that Dwayne mentioned before, which is the World Economic Talent Forum, I believe, which is cool. So that was another contribution to helping alien worlds and governance. But yeah, thank you for the kind words, Dwayne. And yeah, I'm just trying to do as much as I can to help, because I'm so passionate and inspired to help with these fractal governance, because I think it's so helpful for everybody, and it's also really fun, getting to see everybody and getting to meet everybody too. That's an absolute pleasure.
Nice. Jeff.
Okay. Well, as far as what I've done in the last week, I guess I could separate from the state of the condition of what I've done up to this point versus this last week, is I finally made it here and able to participate. And I mean, it's been a while. Seems like I lose track of the day sometimes or whatever, or the hour. But it's great to be here. And like I've stated before, I do have some initiatives that would be, I believe, good to look into related to conservation, sustainable development on both alien worlds that do relate to the physical world, and some ideas for setting up endowment-like funds that would be there perpetually. I do have Trillium's stake to become a council member. That's been there for a long time, since the system first came out. And so I guess hopefully I'm here just in time to get involved and continue with some of these ideas, participate and support all of you and everything you're doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, we want to always remind everyone that this next part where we come to consensus, we're just rating contributions, and it is a huge contribution just to be part of this process. So I just want to remind everyone that everyone gets rewarded in this process, and if the consensus process shows you lower on the list, it's nothing personal. It's just us going through this consensus process, and that we really want to make sure it's open to people that are just going through this process, especially that our goal is to introduce a lot of new people from alien worlds to this. So in saying that, I think it was valuable to kind of flesh that out a little bit more. We have a little bit less time than we usually do from consensus, but the next part is everybody. I know, Jeff, you said you're on the phone. Are you able to chat in the text as well? Because what we're going to do is just kind of do a countdown of 3, 2, 1, and everyone just let me know if you're ready, and put the name of the person who you think contributed the most. And if it's an easy consensus that we come with 2/3 consensus, then we just kind of move on to the next person. And if not, it's divided, we just go into more discussion. So yeah, so with that, if everyone's ready, maybe we'll start for who we think contributed the most in governments into alien worlds up to this point. And let me just get ready here as well.
Just by the way, Dwayne, how much time do we have for consensus? Or is it 10 minutes more, or 5, or?
We have, well, I'll go for 10 minutes here.
Okay, sounds
yeah,
good.
so it's a little tight, but we'll do our best, I guess.
Okay, cool.
All right, everyone have the name in a chat?
Yes.
All right, let's do a countdown. I will go 3, 2, 1, post. So 3, 2, 1, post. All right, we need one more person on there.
I think that Evan didn't post it. And then also, I think that I have 3 votes from here. I'm honored and I appreciate it very much. Although I think that it probably makes most sense for Dwayne, or I was also thinking maybe Evan to be highest, because I'm on and I'm doing a lot for fractal governance, I think, but not as much specifically for alien worlds. Hold on, looking forward to.
You can not accept the consensus, but I would just move forward. I think we just came to consensus, Mr. Dan, that you're up on. I think you got it.
Although Evan just voted Dwayne, so now I think it's split between Dwayne and me.
2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, okay. How do we get 7? How did we get 7? 2, 3.
Oh, well, did Johanna and Tristan vote separately, or are they voting as one? I don't.
Just as one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so you voted twice. So we have Dan, Dwayne. Oh, so we do have a tie. All right.
Okay. Now we got a thumb wrestle.
Yeah. We're
Well, I
both
think it
going to
should be
say the
Dwayne
same
for
thing.
6.
I think if anyone wants to change their votes, I would stick on saying, Dan, you've made it to every meeting, and I really appreciate that in some of these other bigger forums, you have been the person, not myself, that's kind of been plugging this Fractally process. And I think the influence and the job you've done to push this forward, maybe not as specifically Alien Worlds, that has been recognized. And I would suggest, I don't want to influence anyone else's vote. That's just kind of why I voted for you. So if anyone else has any thoughts on it. I will also do maybe give us one little piece of feedback as well. We do have the bigger Fractally group meeting every Saturday, and I get rated on my contributions to Fractally. So I do give a report that I ran this meeting, and I do get respect and rated over there. In the last couple of weeks, I rated like second from the top or first. So I do get recognized as from the larger group of contributing to put out Fractally. So in saying that, I am getting respect and votes somewhere else as well. So because of that, I would say Dan should be taking the top spot here. Would anyone else like to change their votes or have a discussion?
I'm
You guys
sorry,
want
Marco.
independent voice. We wouldn't be here without Dwayne. Dan and I get some respect. Dan tends to get top level respect at the other meetings. And I would say by far the greatest contribution, if we're doing contributions, it's by far Dwayne. So.
Yeah, I was also thinking for that, Marco. I was also just going to say that the same is also true, as Marco kind of said, that both Marco, Dwayne, and I, we all attend the Fractally Genesis meeting, as well as the Eden Fractal meeting, so we do get respect there. So I think I'm honored, and I think that it's probably best to rank Dwayne as 6 for this, because Dwayne started this, and this is specifically Alien Worlds. And I think it's probably like best for people who are contributing the most specifically to Alien Worlds to be ranked 6, although of course, we're figuring this out as we go. I'm happy to do it however we think is best, but my vote would certainly be for Dwayne to be number 6.
Also, just a few weeks in, so it's good to get the creators early. Bye.
Yeah, and then also Evan and Trekker and Johanna and Tristan. I know that Johanna and Tristan were saying that they hadn't done that much this week because they were on the farm and stuff, but it sounds like they've done a lot for Alien Worlds in the past as well. I don't really know. I'm not very familiar with the past work of many people with Alien Worlds, but I'd be, I'm very interested to learn more, and that might be helpful to take into account as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's very difficult, and we only have like 5 minutes to decide. I think John is raising your hand too.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I see that Dan is doing a lot, and he also was able to share this in a very structured and good way. And I think if we want to encourage that, I think we should vote for him.
All right, time's ticking, so we need someone to change a vote.
Are we still at 3
now,
and 3?
There is one consideration to change your vote. Why would we want to come to consensus? Just to do the process. And if we don't come to consensus, we don't get any rewards. So I know not many of us are here just for the rewards, but it is our challenge to come to consensus. And I do challenge us to do it because I haven't been in a group yet that hasn't done that. So sometimes you want to be the first in something. In this case, I don't think we want to be.
Good points. Well, you have an opportunity to change your vote for yourself,
Okay,
Dwayne,
I will
if you'd like to.
I will do
and
it.
Then
I
okay.
really like Joanna's reasoning as well, but I will in the sake of consensus. All right.
Okay, sounds good. So should we move on to 5 now?
All right. So next spot, 3 Everyone have their name in the post in
Hey
your chat.
guys, I have to jump. Thank you
Okay.
so much for today's call, and I look forward to seeing you guys all very soon.
If you,
Thanks,
Evan, before you go, so we can come to consensus, if you want to just put out the list for your next kind of 5 spots, and we'll take that consideration, and when the rest of us are
5
going through it.
spots. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just
top
drop that in.
to most.
So a ranking order, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Next top all the way down, and that would help us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll
And
do that
then
right now.
also drop your Wax account in after that.
Okay.
And thank you, Evan, for joining and sharing what you're working on. It's very interesting, and it's been a pleasure meeting you.
You too. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see.
All right, we can we'll go just for the rest of us in our next spot, and I think we might have consensus pretty easily on that one if you guys are ready. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Sorry, it's quick.
I suppose for consensus purpose, so I'll do myself here too for timeliness.
All right.
Although I wouldn't. I was planning on ranking Evan as 5, but I'm happy to be 2 and grateful for it. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you. We'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thanks for your
Okay.
time.
Cool. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. Okay, so we have like 2 minutes left.
We're down to 2 minutes. All right, everyone have the next next spot in. 3, 2, 1, post. All right, do we have? Okay, nice. Thanks for the consensus. Let's go for the next one.
Okay, I really don't know what to pick here.
Is everyone ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, post. Oh, it's going to be a tough one.
Okay.
I voted for Marco. Just I value the importance of a non-biased, information on all of this, and your participation in other governance. Was why I voted Marco.
Yeah, I voted. I really didn't know what to pick. I thought what Trekker was saying sounded really helpful, but and then also what Johanna and Tristan were saying was helpful. And I know Marco well, and Marco has been super helpful in all 3 fractals. So I didn't know what to pick, but I was kind of going more with Alien Worlds. But I'm happy to switch my vote to Marco as well if that'll help us reach a consensus. Because overall, for governance, Marco is doing excellent work.
Okay. I think that gives us consensus then, does it? Yeah. All right, flying along. Everyone ready? Oh, I'm so tired. Okay. All right, you guys ready? 3,
Yep.
2, 1, post.
Oh, I don't know what to do. Just by the way, my vote was completely random because I really don't know what to pick right now. I just had to put something.
And I think we have consensus on Jeff, do we not?
Tracker, Jeff?
Yeah.
Evan voted for Ron.
So is there consensus or no?
Let me see. We've got 1, 2, 3.
I think we only have 5. Yes, we have 5 votes. So because Evan's
Right.
not here.
Okay.
So we have 3 out of 5, right?
Yeah.
John, who is okay, so Johanna and Tristan voted Johanna Trist. So that was voting for Johanna and Tristan. I don't know if we have to go now. I'd be open to changing the vote if we have time. I don't have time. It was really difficult for me to decide what to pick.
Oh, I know.
And I also very much appreciate Jen and Tristan.
Whatever.
I've seen them at several meetings before, and I appreciate the kind words before. And it sounds like you're working on some really cool stuff. So I'd be happy to switch the vote if we think it's better.
Shrek mentioned staking Trillium. I believe he's the first one to mention that. That's stuck up.
Yeah, and part of the reason why I ranked Checker was he was saying how he's been involved with Alien Worlds for a long time and staked it to run as counselor a long time ago. And then he said some other stuff that sounded great too. But I feel like I'm fairly uninformed right now to really to really rank contributions here. So I'm really happy to go either way.
Okay, I think we got Jeff. I think we should have a change in consensus there. We have Jeff as we have consensus, I believe.
Okay.
I'll go with Shrek.
Okay, I'll post this in the main chat when we go back, and then just a reminder to me next time is we could always use more time. So I think we'll make this a little bit longer than 45 minutes, so we don't feel rushed at all, because I don't like feeling rushed for consensus. And yeah, so but thanks guys. I'm going to close the room and we'll get back to the main room here.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Just to
Thanks,
make
everybody.
sure we're all on consensus, let me, you know what, before we do that, I don't want to rush here. Let me put this list to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay.
There's no H in my name, by the way. Post my black.
Oh, right. Sorry. All right.
Also, it wasn't clear if we can vote for ourselves, but then you started and the other one started and I started, and then I thought, is it an option or not? Because the first time it wasn't, and I was like, I'm gonna try this to make sure that I make a point here, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was a
I'm
game.
glad I'll have to specify, because we've kind of changed and said, if you are worthy and have done a lot, you should have a voice and speak up for what you've done. So we have been voting for ourselves, but you're right. The time you were there, we kind of said, no, let's not. But yeah, we'll try and specify that. I kind of forgot, took for granted that the last few times we were voting for ourselves, but
It was great meeting with you all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello from the other side.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome on the
Greetings.
other side.
Now the two rooms meet.
We
Wow.
were on the dark side before. Now we are into the white side. Welcome, everyone.
Oh, welcome. Also, I'm seeing David's background. It looks like David is like he's up to some industrial creative stuff in some cool atmosphere.
He's cooking something. There seems to be an alien world or something like that. I don't know.
With a giant blimp thing going behind.
Mm,
Very cool.
nice, Ian. Okay.
So Dwayne, should we post the consensus in the chat or?
I wasn't even sure what to ask or what to say.
The dark side
years
of the
ago.
consensus.
We were all sort of pleased with ourselves on the other side with our ability to achieve a decision that our process was the exercise more than the output, but we did it on time this time.
Nice.
And we had a good moderator in our room, Jason. Thank you very much.
We want to explore our points. Everyone wants to describe. There's more to describe. There's more to always say, and it's a tough decision to make in a short amount of time.
The one piece that has no inertia is the boat. So you can just totally be done with all of the noise or the mass. You know, you have the ability, you have the voice.
Cool. I was going to add that our room was very like last minute trying to decide quickly, as we were talking about maybe extending it at some point, but I see that David has his hands up too, so I'm curious what David has to share.
Thanks. So I just want to summarize quickly or get the get the ball rolling on this discussion. Maybe you had similar experiences. So we really ran into our we were tight for time. So we ran into two issues. One is that people almost got to the point where they said, well, I will acquiesce to the consensus, even though I don't feel comfortable changing my vote. So we kind of touched on that area, which was interesting. And I don't want to say if we actually crossed that line or not, that's, you know, for the people involved to say, but definitely we entered that area. And the other was that people preemptively changed their vote to make the process quicker, to try to hit the consensus. So we basically started to circumvent the process because we had too little time, which was interesting and you know, an interesting observation. And we might want to think about have more time, so not to force ourselves to sabotage our own process and, you know, lose that data in the process where we could have, when we could have done the process properly with more time, we just would have way more value out of the process instead of kind of cheating ourselves out of the experience. So yeah, thanks.
I'd like to second that. That I think that in all of the last, what, 3 or 4 weeks that I've been involved, I think there is kind of that lack of time to kind of get to really like flush out why people are voting for who and so forth. So Dwayne, maybe we should extend that, you know, a little bit longer if everybody's willing to spend a little more time. I think that the introductions are great in terms of understanding what you did that week and so forth. Especially like in our group, like we know most of the people. Like we you know, it's people that we've been talking to. It was a group that was, you know, been interacting for not just these conversations, but the KROWN conversation, the KROWN, you know, DAC conversations and so forth. And so I think we know kind of each other on somewhat of a personal level. And so the introductions can go into kind of like what they did this week and what their contributions are, which is obviously very important. But then when it comes down to voting, those contributions kind of need to be weighed a little bit more carefully, if you will, or a little more specifically, because everybody kind of has their own take on, is this contribution, you know, in the hierarchy, is this contribution more important than this contribution, right? And those are very subjective decisions that are going to be made by every individual. And I think having more time to kind of flush that out during the voting process, during the consensus process, would be more advantageous. Because, you know, certainly, and I brought this up in our group, and I'll make it a little more general, is there is some, you know, transparency with what people do, and then there is some contributions that are more opaque, right? And unless you have an opportunity to kind of like discuss while you're voting or why you're voting that way, I'm not sure you can really sway anybody. Like, and like what David was just saying, it becomes down to, oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and change my vote because the time is running out. and I'm not sure the time running out should be the motivating impetus for why you're changing your vote. It should be that you're more convinced about what this person did than the other person that you originally thought of. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, and also I think it was again not really clear what we vote about. I mean, what exactly is it that the person had to do during this week that is specifically voted on, and in what area, and all that stuff. It was again not much clearer than last time, which was the first time. And so it was a bit complicated, and so it all was a bit, and we had also less time than last time for the voting. Yeah, it was a bit tight at the end. Also, we had I think same issues as the other groups, the other group. Yeah, I think to make it more clear what to tell the others about last week, in which area you contributed, that would be best.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Johanna, and thank you, Extra, for the thoughts. So I agree, and I'd like to just briefly respond, I think, to both what Johanna was saying, what Extra was saying. So one, I do think, like, we've kind of been a little bit maybe the word that came to mind is amorphous. I don't know if that's the right word, but we have been talking both about like contributions to alien worlds, contributions to overall governance, and so forth. And so that is something where I appreciate like the desire to rank both of these. And I think that Dwayne's done a great job of inspiring both of these, although it is a bit confusing, like what we should rank for, and also whether it's like specifically for the last week, or if it's also for like alien worlds in general over the past year, or governance over the past year, or whatever. So I think that some of these things might be helpful for us to just talk about, and I guess maybe see what we value the most as a community, or what Dwayne thinks is best as the person who started and brought everybody together here. It might just be helpful to explore that to be more sure. And then as far as what Extra was saying, I agree, like that it's difficult for sure to get consensus within an hour or 45 minutes. We're also working with just amount of time that people have. Like we could, if we had time, we could spend 3 hours on figuring out what contribution is more valuable, but most people don't have that time. And at like a certain point, it becomes like, as well as the law of diminishing returns might go in there at some point when you have more time. And I think that a big aspect of this ƒractal process is just repetition and iteration of the cycles. So like, it's there's something that Dan Larimer, who pioneered and basically invented this ƒractal process, talks about often, is that this is like it's bound to be unfair every week. And it's like he likens it to a scientific measurement process where it gets more accurate. And what we're doing is kind of like we're like a scientific measuring instrument that's not precise. We don't know exactly what the contribution order should be at each week, but then over time, if you imagine we do it for 5 weeks, 10 weeks, 50 weeks, 100 weeks, or whatever, then over time we get to learn more and more of each other's contributions and so forth. And so if I maybe ranked one person lowly or highly this week because I only had an hour to determine what they shared, but then as I see them speak over the next few weeks, and I can say, oh, well, they actually did, you know, this or this, and so that can play into the equation and the figuring out, and over time it can become more accurate in that way. So I think that that's a good thing to keep in mind too, that this is a long-term process. It's not trying to be super accurate or as accurate. It's trying to be as accurate as possible, but it's bound to be inaccurate to some extent each week. But over time, we can get more accurate.
That makes sense, you know, and for my votes, I could have went either way on several votes. But yeah, I think defining what the criteria is, you know, and then maybe even just including extra votes if it's possible to, or extra votes, so that we can acknowledge some long-term things versus last week, you know, because I could.
Yeah, do I get more votes? I get more votes? Huh? Really? Come on. I like that idea. Come on, extra votes. There we go.
I mean, like more rounds to facilitate some of the other.
If I can add one thing real quick, I think it also, certainly in our group was, if it's related to Alien Worlds, then obviously like people who are involved in Alien Worlds are going to get some sort of like bias towards, their contributions that, like I said, may be opaque, right? Like, because clearly they're doing more than the rest of us are, just because that's the reality of their situation. So, I think the criteria could be, better defined to dovetail with everybody's thing.
For sure.
I think that's the
David has
biggest
his
thing
hands
is
up here
right
too.
now, we're just trying to figure out what we're trying to vote for. So the biggest problem is we don't know most contribution to what. Based on that, there is a real important part of speed and efficiency, because if you want to get a lot of people where we want this to grow, you can't be arguing over everything for hours and hours. People are busy doing other things, building tools for Alien World. So in this case, you've got to define time to say your contribution. That's one of the problems, is the art and skill of doing a efficient yet complete as possible contribution report. And if you need more time, it's in that. It's what do you put in the contribution, because it's everybody's job to, in this case, to advocate for themselves. Then when it comes to the time frame, it's just where does the, according to the Fractally white paper, what is the balance? For 6, it's 4 out of 6. And one of the reasons why it's 4, because then that prevents or minimizes the ability for people to come in and say, no, I'm not going to do any consensus unless it goes my way. So one of the reasons they did that where it wasn't unanimous is because then one person could say, yeah, unless you vote for me, number one, or a group of people could come in and say, yeah, unless you vote for the way we want, we're not going to reach consensus, and hold that ransom. So the idea, according to that, is you figure out what the right time is for a consensus report. Hopefully you train people to do a good consensus report. And I'm not good at that either. And you come and you give the consensus report, and then you vote. If the consensus is already, in this case, 4 out of 6, that's enough to move on. If it's not, then they say, would somebody like to advocate for the leading characters? And so maybe more information, change your vote. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you're trying to advocate. And then there's the idea of consent versus consensus. Well, yeah, okay. I may not believe that's the number one choice, but I'm willing to go along with that because it's not that far off from where I'm thinking anyway. So that's the other pieces in here.
David's had his hand up for a bit. David?
Thanks. Yeah, so I think I would agree what I said where from Dan Larimer. He realizes that this is an iterative process. So it's just a little cheat code to trick ourselves that the more you participate here, the more accurate you will be evaluated, just because there's more information about you with everyone participating as well. So this this should facilitate a more of a relaxed and playful demeanor of everyone having fun in this process and taking it less personal, because what we have seen is mostly just a difference of one level between differences of votes, right? That's nothing to lose sleep over. It's really just a matter of looking at something from a different perspective, and next week people involved might even vote the same, or swap their perspectives just because they had experiences in the last week that just changes this perspective or their value system just that little bit. So taking it all together, and then we also have like the consent as a backup to fall back onto, and saying, well, does it jeopardize the whole thing if I agreed to this person instead of that person? No, probably not. So there's really no reason to just see what will happen next week, right? It's if we can adopt more of more of a playful mindset here, I think that will smooth out the process greatly and make it more fun. It take less time and gives everyone also the trust, you know, that looking back how it went and looking here, how's it going? It's going pretty well. And I think everything that we set out to do is happening right before our eyes. We encounter some friction points. We are able to address them easily without anyone breaking a sweat or getting into fights. So I think overall, this is a great success. So let's not forget that the process is working pretty well. And it is anticipated that it'll, you know, the friction points are what makes it fun. You know, because we have a tool that enables us to address it in a fun and playful way. As long as we don't forget that this is what it is, you know, it's about the process, not about the result of the vote ultimately. So yeah, I'm very happy to be able to be in this process with all of you and have this experience.
I have to interrupt with a joke about how the friction points are where it's fun. I'm sure everyone's thinking the same thing I am. What's that like? Well said, though, everybody. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt that much.
Eric's got his hand up.
I think there are two main things to think about, things we're focusing on. Number one is no one person or small group should be able to get control of the group. And I think we're doing that so far very effectively. The other thing is getting a shared pool of information. And that is the thing that most organizations that aren't successful don't do. Information gets limited either because somebody is controlling or people are silent. They're not putting their input in, so nobody knows about it. That's generally what happens in organizations. And through this process, I feel pretty comfortable that people are actually talking. It's imperfect, but there's more information flowing in than you would normally get at most meetings where everybody shows up, a couple people talk, and then it goes. So those are the two things that I think we're showing here, is that we can collaborate without one person or a small group getting control, and we can start working on making a flow of information from everybody, because you just don't know what's important. Put in the shared pool of knowledge.
Eric, if I can dovetail on that for just 1 second, but I think what you're describing is absolutely correct, right? And I think we've all been in organizations where that happens, right? But I do think that does go back to kind of the time frame or the limitation of time in order to, you know, appropriately address the scale of how many people